welcome to the Fantasy Rewind podcast. I'm your co-host, Dylan Stoll, and I'm joined as always by my friend, Michael Whifford.
Hey.
So today, we're going to be talking about the season and, dare I say, series finale for Shadow and Bone Season 2, which is going to be titled...
No Funerals.
No Funerals. Alright, so before we get into the discussion of the episode here, I'm just going to give out the typical reminders. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can get at us on Instagram, which is at Fantasy Rewind Pod. We're on Twitter, which is at Fantasy Rewind. And also, we have an email, which is fantasyrewindpod@gmail.com. All right, Mike, without any further delay, let's dive into the rewind.
Fantasy Rewind. Okay, so Shadow and Bone Season 2, the finale. What'd you think, Dylan?
All in all, there were parts I liked about it. There were parts I really didn't like about it. And I think that just kind of encapsulates what I think about the show in general so far up to this point. And in conclusion, if this is indeed the final episode of the series. But I think that there's a lot of meat on this bone for us to talk about. What are your thoughts on this one, Mike?
There's just a lot that goes on here, and it creates a lot of issues going forward if they were to make a season 3 that I don't think I'd really enjoy a lot of the plots they started to open up at the end being tied up. It felt like a really big departure in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm cool if they end it where they did and just kind of leave it hanging there, but we'll get to that in a minute here. All right, why don't you walk us through this thing?
Okay, so instead of going through every beat by beat here, let's just kind of get into the meat. Alina. We see that Mal is fading away. He tells her, just to do it, end his life, because obviously last episode he'd kind of gotten hurt. And, obviously there's that whole touching scene. No, I love you. And he's like, you know where to find me. And then, obviously, she pierces the heart. And it releases the Firebird, effectively eliminating the fold. If only Mal had just gotten hurt the first time. And almost killed us, we could have saved ourselves 2 seasons of episodes, apparently. Right?
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
I thought that it was a very interesting choice to basically have his death mean the death of the fold, because I was expecting Alina needing to do something in order for that to happen, as opposed to just needing to kill Mal and then an eruption of light will go out and destroy the fold. I will say that I would like to think that everyone seeing the fold like collapsing in on itself had to have been cheering and had to have been enjoying the moment and like loving what was going on, not knowing the price that was paid in order for that to happen.
Correct. And I wish we had gotten, you bringing that up, I hadn't even thought about it. I wish we had gotten more of other people's perspectives in that sense. Even like the Fjordans and these other cultures.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, because like this fold...
What does that mean to them?
This fold impacted Ravka, of course, but it impacted everybody. And I think like, those shots that could have easily been made of going to like townsfolk, seeing the fold going back, or like the Fjordan army, like watching it as like it retreats from their border, or the people down in Shuhan, like hearing that this great thing is going on and like being intrigued by it. It could have been a much larger world-shaking event than what it was shown to be on the screen there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we transition here, Mal is gone. Obviously, the Shadow Masters are attacking Inej, and Inej is helping out with that piece. And Nadia is also helping out as well. But we get this rousing speech from Kirigan coming up here as, he talks about how, I'm the monster and I balance you out, and you need, people need a monster. They don't need a saint. And we find out how much he loves her. Oh, go figure, right?
Loves her enough to try to kill her.
Yeah. And Alina just gets to a point where she's like, I'm done with this, and kills him too. Apparently she has no issue killing the men in her life. to be fair,
one of them deserved it. One was necessary, though. Well, both were necessary.
Yeah, both were kind of necessary, unfortunately. But and Kerrigan's dying, you really do get the sense that he loved her, and he was just past redemption. I mean, which makes sense too because he's been living for ever,
literally.
Yeah, but yeah, and so, and as he's dying, he says, "Burn me," or basically make sure there's nothing left of him, which was a really thoughtful thing because, I mean, I didn't think about it until after he'd said it, but oh yeah, he's a giant amplifier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Bagra's bones, think about Kerrigan's bones being passed around for everybody to get amplified off him.
Yeah, and it's not like the other creatures where it's like whoever kills it gets it. It's
anybody and everyone.
Anyone
who
harvests him gets it. Yeah. And it would be pretty powerful.
Maybe Alina should have saved a little for herself.
Yeah. While this is happening, one of the shadow monsters is attacking our crows and king, and in the ensuing fight here, the king is stabbed effectively from one of the shadow monsters, and they none of them can really do anything to it because, oh hey, the blade is elsewhere, and the cool grenade effect we got, well, neat, and it dispersed it, didn't last very long.
No, very like flashbang, gets out there, and then it comes right back.
Yeah, so that finally dissipates with the death of Kerrigan, and that has some consequences. That has some consequences. But let's stay focused on Mal for a little bit, because I think I want to kind of talk through that, and as it's pretty interesting. So Mal is obviously dying. We have Nina attempting to try and restart his heart, and Alina uses Merzos to bring him back.
Yeah.
Even though she promised Bagra she wouldn't.
She goes full, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to save my loved one.
Yeah, which did not pay off. Because after he comes back, he talks about how he doesn't know if their relationship was even real.
Which is a valid point. He brings
in some good points.
Yeah.
Like, their entire relationship was built off of his desire. Like, I could always find you, and I always have this, like, connection to you, and now it's gone. And it was all built on the fact that I was supposed to be used by you. And you used me, you achieved this greatness, and now where do I sit in all this?
You know, I thought it was a very valid point that he brought up because, like you said, like, he was lost and, like, he now didn't have his true north anymore. He wasn't sure if he ever really did. And it was just coming back to, like, what's fate and destiny versus is it my choice that I actually loved you? And Mal wants to find that out. And I couldn't help but cringe as soon as I saw Alina starting to bring him back. I'm like, are you kidding me, girl? You know what this is going to do. Yeah. It sucks, and I'm sorry, Mal, but it's a sacrifice that needed to be made. And Alina's like, no, I will have him. And brings him back.
I agree completely. I was sitting there just like, come on, just let him die. And, you know, obviously if we were in her situation, we would do the same thing. But it's just like, from a story perspective, too, it's just like he's played his part.
Yeah.
It's okay. They always need to have that love triangle, right?
Gotta have that love triangle. And apparently there still is one.
Yeah, there is still one, yes. Speaking of, you know, relationships that ended that shouldn't have, Jenya and David.
Yeah.
Again, still don't understand why he didn't just get in the elevator with her, right?
For real. I mean, he needlessly died, not really doing anything that he couldn't have done from inside safely. Just getting in, shutting the door, using his Durist powers to fuse the door shut, and they would have been just as safe or safer, and he'd still be alive.
And Jenya, like, goes up, and it looks like he got torn apart.
Yes, it does not look like a good death.
No, and it seems that he was also creating an engagement ring.
Yeah.
And that was truly heartbreaking.
And I mean, I was fully expecting, you know, that to happen, like him to propose to Jenya after she got mutilated, or like just to solidify their relationship. And the fact that he did this
never happened.
Yeah, it just sucks.
But we then have what I thought was kind of an interesting scene. The whole pyre for the Darkling. Everyone was there. And I thought that was really surprising because everyone hated him.
I think it was more so because it was like this monumentous event that like everyone just felt like they needed to be there. So like they could say, I was there when they burned the Darkling, and say that with authority and truth, in that they were present at this giant battle. They were there when like his reign of terror ended. And so everyone came to like see he was really gone. That like it wasn't some trick, that he was really dead.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a ton of witnesses there. That's good. That's a good point. Then we have Alina talking with Mael about his future as a privateer, which I think is funny because he's basically swapping places with Nikolai.
Yes, Nikolai gets the girl, gets to be king. Mal gets to go on a swashbuckling adventure of his own choosing now. Yeah.
And Nikolai kind of gives him like the keys to his kingdom, essentially. The compass, which will allow him on board the Hummingbird.
Yeah, I mean, he literally like took over that privateer persona that Nikolai had been using. And honestly, like with Mal's skills, because he obviously had skills, it wasn't all just him being the Firebird, I would think. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to be able to go on this like find yourself journey and see like what he actually misses, what he actually enjoys when he's free of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, obviously Toya and Tamar are going, and Inej is going as well, which was an interesting little pickup there. And Kaz, though, we get this really cool moment between Kaz and Inej in the chapel. And he asks her not to go. And I was like, oh, man.
Is someone going to be going to the chapel after all? No, but yeah. I was a little surprised to see Inej go, to be honest. Like, I totally saw the heart renders going. I did not see Inej leaving Kaz. I thought that she would... they would actually get together in the end, but I guess I got proved wrong. Too much of a romantic.
Yeah. Well, Kaz is the only one in the way of it all.
Yeah, no, he really is.
She says,
really
I will have you without your armor or without you at all. And so she's basically saying, like, you need to, like, be able to confess to me and be open with me, or this ain't going to happen. And gotta love that boundary
she deserves that.
She's setting, right? She does. And I mean, I think she'd be understanding too if Kaz would just give a little and like, I can only give this much, but I'm willing to work through the rest. So, but I don't know. Oh, then we get the prison scene. You want to talk about...
I don't, because I feel like this entire thing was worthless and pointless, and it just makes me upset that it even exists. What are your thoughts on the prison scene, Mike?
Just, why? It, like you said, it really didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be like too negative about the Fjorden and everything there, but it was a pointless storyline. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't progress.
Exactly.
And it was just a dangling hook that like was like maybe 3 centimeters deep in the water. So like it didn't matter at all. Yeah,
correct. It just took up screen time.
Yeah.
It really, it was frustrating. It was frustrating. But the really interesting piece at the end of this, well, there's a few different interesting pieces at the end of this. But I think one is Nikolai being infected, which is such an interesting thing. Like
because the Murzoth blade that went through him.
Yeah. Such an interesting thing because we haven't seen anything like that from any Grisha power before.
Well, I don't think that any Grisha was using true magic. They called it, do like the little science or whatever it is, like the Grisha stuff. True. And whereas Murzoth is magic. They're like pure magic. And so we don't really know the effects of it other than it corrupts. And other than it's not good to touch. And apparently getting touched by it has bad effects too.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think, it kind of reminds me of Lord of the Rings a little bit, where Frodo gets stabbed by the Morgul blade, where it'll be a wound that never heals and will like slowly be corrupted until it's like cleansed if this can be cleansed.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. Can it be cleansed? Also, we get this new drug on the market called Jerda. It's super addictive, and if Grisha takes it, their powers are
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Is that leftover bone?
Oh, wow. That just happened. Oh, my gosh. Look at that. Like, I just was, like, sitting there just like, huh, are you serious?
And it would not surprise me at all, like, if the mastermind behind it was Kerrigan's little chemist dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would not surprise me at all either. He would be the one to do it. Or even... great granddaddy Merzoster.
Oh yeah, the guy that was Marisova or whatever his name is.
Mm.
Yeah, if he is still alive, maybe he's the mastermind behind this like drug cartel or something. But
yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
but and then we get our own Red Wedding.
Yeah, for real. Talk about this real quick. This was nuts.
I know. Go for it. I don't really have much to say because I just was like...
So there's this woman that we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Comes waltzing in to the wedding of Nikolai and Alina. And first of all, I was just like, okay, Alina, you're gonna become queen after all. And so this woman, though, comes waltzing in. And all of a sudden, it's proven that she's a heartrender. Probably sent from Furida. And just starts killing everyone at the wedding. Like, literally making them, like, burst with blood. Causing heart attacks everywhere. Just going nuts. Then we have, arguably, the biggest reveal of them all. Which is when Alina stops this mad heartrender from killing everyone by using the cut on her. But it's not her light that comes out and cuts her. It's Alina's newfound shadow power that she has, because guess who's the new Darkling? Alina. And guess who gives the camera her best evil little grin at the end of it all? Alina. So Alina and the Darkling have merged to become Dark Alina. And it is... Darklina. And it is not something that the Ravka or the world is ready for, because blood will be shed.
And also totally dumb.
Right? Oh, insanely dumb. I hate it so much.
It's just like, okay, I see that we've just decided to just phone this, like, not phone it in, really. Just be like, we're never going to have another season, so let's just make it crazy. Because I'm pretty sure that's not in the books.
I have no idea. I have not read it yet. I'm going to, though. And if this is different than the books, like, holy cow, like, we need to have Sean on here and see what his thoughts are. But I think that them doing the ending like this sets in stone that they will not be doing another season. Because if they did
where do they go?
Yeah, where do they go from there? Other than, like, start the entire story over of the Grisha
being the one.
Of the Grisha being persecuted again, and how Alina is the new general who's evil now, and just rinse and repeat all the storylines we just went through here, except with no Lightbringer coming.
Yeah, and now Grisha cocaine or Grisha heroin all over the streets. So dumb.
So why don't you talk about, like, what your thoughts are about this way to kind of end the series, or end the season at the very least?
I didn't like a lot of it. I think that came out pretty clearly throughout our conversation here.
Yes.
I think they took the story in some directions that they did not need to go. And it would have almost just been better to just play it safe and sort of end it in a way where we had a lot of sacrifice, but there was an open door for the next season just through maybe Nikolai and him being infected. Like, that would have been enough, because that would have led to, because Mal was already still there too. It would include him there too, so that love triangle was always hanging over it. Okay. But then you have just him dealing with his darkness, trying to be a leader, hiding it from Alina, and Alina start maybe getting like these weird like Kerrigan things because of the darkness that's infecting Nikolai. So I think that would have been really interesting. And you could have brought in the drug thing, I guess, but I would have brought it in next season or
never.
Only had a hint of it this season, But having the whole like red wedding thing, like it's just like, come on.
No, it caught me completely off guard when they did that because
it was excessive.
I was expecting something to go wrong. I was not expecting that though, like that level of chaos, that level of dysfunction.
Yeah, it just almost just felt like it was like tacked on and not just unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just my opinion on it. But what about yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just kind of covered all of that. I feel the same way. I think that this really, to me, makes me look back at the series as a whole, and it taints it a little bit. Because I thought that the first season of Shadow and Bone was quite good. I was very much so surprised by it.
Impressed.
Yeah, impressed. To really the point that I went out and I bought the books. And I was like, okay, like let's dive into this cool new fantasy world, explore the Grishaverse a little bit. And now like this season has been so kind of up and down with like peaks and valleys of how much I've enjoyed it versus how much I didn't. Where I'm going to continue to read the books because I want to know now if they were following Leigh Bardugo's like footprints or her map to the end point here, and if it's done better or worse within the books. But it definitely puts like a shadow over the entire series, pun intended.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the series as a whole, like a retrospective there, Mike?
So I would agree that there is a slight taint from this season, I would say series finale. But I think on the whole, it was good, especially for a Netflix show when we see them kind of, I don't know, really kind of be hit or miss.
Right, yeah.
This was really solid, pretty much through season 1 and most of season 2. The actors, too, I think did a great job, and really couldn't have asked for too much more from a lot of them. I just wish it had ended better, But I think it's a good step forward. Hopefully we'll see more series come through, but given a longer shelf life. I would love to see a series that could just make it like 8 or 9 seasons.
Oh my gosh. I know. That'd be amazing.
What fantasy series have you seen do that?
Game of Thrones. It's the only one. And even Game of Thrones, by the end, they kind of spoiled that ending a little bit as well. But Game of Thrones is literally the only fantasy series I can think of that has lasted as long as it did. And I know they're trying to do that now with Wheel of Time, where they're asking for a handful of seasons, maybe 6 or 7 or so, but I don't know if that's going to get it because that is not having the same quality that I thought Shadow and Bone had. And I do think that Amazon seems a little bit more willing to let things play out a little longer than Netflix has, because Netflix is notorious for like canceling stuff that nobody wants them to cancel.
Even if they've done well, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wish this lasted longer. I wish they flushed some stuff out a little bit more. But I do understand, like, in a world where we're so like now, give me more. I understand them wanting to close the book on one chapter, one series, and open it on another.
I too. Man, let's hope for good seasons, good series. I don't know even the next series that's coming out, but I do know Witcher Season 3 is either coming out tomorrow or, Friday here, July 1st, June 30th, or it's coming out soon.
Yeah, so Witcher Season 3 will be coming out soon. Percy Jackson will be coming out soon on Disney+.
Looking forward to that.
That'll be good.
Really looking forward to that. I really hope that's good. I mean, Rick Riordan's involved in that. Like, please I just don't understand. Right? How hard is it? You have material written out for you. Yes, you can change dialogue. Yes, you can change all this different stuff, but just follow the plot beats. You can pare it down a bit. You can remove some stuff if you need to, like, move through the story a little quicker, obviously. But 8 hours for a book, like, I feel like you can follow the story pretty closely. Like, That's the inspiration. And I'm saying that not just to Percy Jackson, which is coming out, not just Shadow and Bone, though we don't know the differences. Very much saying that to Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time, Rings of Power.
Oh, God. Well, Rings of Power, I mean,
yeah.
does have a big empty slate to play with.
But. They do. But I think that's where, like, we have some exciting new stuff coming in fantasy with those couple of things. We haven't covered any Witcher content on here. And so there's some stuff we can do.
I've watched it.
I think covering the movies of Percy Jackson could be a fun topic.
Oh, God,
I know you'll hate it.
You just want me to get so negative so fast.
It'll be fun,
I was talking, funny story here. I was talking to my students earlier in the year, and because we were doing book clubs, and I was like, oh yeah, Percy Jackson, such a great book. I had a few kids like interested, and they were like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, like the movies. And I stopped, and I just looked at them, and I was like, don't ever talk about the movies in this classroom. They're like, whoa, Mr. Whitford, what? I was like, those are so bad. They were like, they're really good. I'm like, no.
They're kids,
compared to the
Mike,
books,
they're
kids. Not good at all. Yes, I know you say that. But I also want to say, I took Matt to go see the second movie, which is Matt. But he fell asleep in it. He fell asleep during the second movie. I left the second movie just like so upset. It was so bad.
We have cool stuff though planned as far as options that we can do. I know they are. Oh, I'm so excited! They're making a movie of Best Served Cold, which is one of the books in the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie, which I just finished earlier this week. The entire series, so I'm pumped about that. Again, can't plug that enough. Everyone should go and read The Blade itself. Start there.
We know how you feel about that.
But yeah, we can do lots of cool stuff there. So, as far as wrapping up with Shadow and Bone here. What are your thoughts on how to proceed with that? Do you want to cover the books on here as well? Do you want to kind of press pause on Shadow and Bone verse, or what are your thoughts?
I think maybe it'd be if I'm not going to personally probably go through and read all of them, just because right now my reading library is just I'm there with
you.
I am booked for the next however long.
Next forever.
I already have books queued up and try and just get through them as I go. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of fantasy right now in my shelf. A lot of informational and nonfiction, which is really out of my wheelhouse. But I've been pushing myself a lot in that direction right now. So I would be more than happy to hear and ask questions about that. So if you and Amy read them and want to talk to somebody who has no clue about it and who's going to ask some dumb questions, and you'll be like, What do you mean? I'm more than happy to do that as well. But yeah, we'll figure that out. And if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to send them to us on different series or TV shows or movies. I think right now movies would probably
That's what I was leaning more towards as a movie.
My preferred. Yeah. I just don't want to dive into another season right now and be like, oh, episode 1, episode 2, get 4 episodes in and be like, no.
Yes.
No.
We'll figure out a movie. We'll talk after we're done here and do a movie. I think I know where I want to go. And I'll just say it right here. Great. Let's watch the Witcher animated movie because it's fantastic. And it's a one-off we can talk about from there.
Pick-me-up. I love that. I love animated. So, heck yeah. Why not?
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, with that being said, it's going to be 2 nerds signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.